Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be installing my first package of bees. What I'm doing right now is just taking out some frames in order to make room, and I'm looking for my hive tool. I've got to pry this top piece off. Now, this is the first package I've ever installed, so kinda hesitant to just really force the top off. Now that metal tab right there is what is holding up the queen cage. Now the queen cage has the actual queen herself inside of it. And so now I'm looking for some sugar water spray. The reason I have that spray is that I can spray it onto the bees through the package and it will encourage grooming behavior. Now I just slammed the thing down, and that was to sort of knock the bees off of the can and away from the entrance so that I can remove the can of sugar water that they have in there for feed. And that's just to make it easier to remove it without crushing any of the bees, because where there's only 10,000 bees in this initial package or thereabouts, I don't want to accidentally hurt too many of them. So I'm just struggling a bit to get the can out here. But hey, there we go. And now once it's out, I can remove the queen, and then I can put the top on to stop the bees from flying out early. Now there's a couple bees that are on the cage. They're tending to the queen, feeding her. And so now I'm just looking for my bee brush. I want to try to kind of move these bees a little further away. And I'm just inspecting the queen to see what she looks like in there, get a good idea of the cage. Like I said, this is my first package, so I haven't really seen a bee up close like this before, so... or a queen bee rather, so I'm trying to make sure that in person I can still tell what she looks like. Now this package that I'm installing, I went with a method that was recommended to me by the guy I got the packages from. What I'm going to be doing is, instead of shaking the bees out of the package in order to get them into the hive, I'm currently preparing the queen cage to hang from one of the frames, and I'm just going to flip the entire box over on top of the queen, and I'm going to let the bees come out naturally. They should be attracted to the pheromones of the queen, who will be further down. The benefits to this are you're not shaking the bees around as much, you're not really getting them riled up or injuring them, but it does take them longer to get out, so I think we came back about 3 hours later for this hive, and there were still some bees in the package. Not many, but there were still some. Now I'm trying to remove the cork. There's a little hard cork before a candy cork that's actually in these queen cages, and that's to prevent the bees from freeing her while she's in the package. The candy cork, which I'm pointing to right there, they will slowly eat through that, and the main reason for that is to make sure that the bees have time to adjust to the queen, because otherwise there's a higher probability that they will actually kill the queen due to not accepting her. So it's kind of like a slow release mechanism now. I tried to pull it out with my hive tool, but that wasn't working for me, so I'm pulling out my pocket knife and using it to kind of dig out the cork from there, just to make room so that they can actually get to the candy cork and free the queen. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put her onto one of the frames. You just kind of bend that little piece of aluminum over in order to hold her on. Now, some videos I saw recommend that you use a few rubber bands to hold her horizontally. I have no doubt that that's probably a better way to do it, just to ensure that no dead bees block her from digging out, if there were attendants in the cage with her, which in this case there weren't. So I just put her in there, and then I'm sliding all of the frames over, trying to make her kind of centered in them. These are 10 frame boxes, so I think she's about on frame 4 or 5 in there. Now these are double wax coated foundations, and the benefit to that is it'll help encourage the bees to draw them out quicker because of the initial layers of wax. So I'm just going to give them one last spray with the sugar water, try to make sure that they're got some grooming behavior going on, and that it'll help encourage them not to go too crazy. Shaking them all down again. And now here I'm just going to flip it and try to get that hole right on top of where the queen is. Thanks to those two little stops on the left and right, I didn't have to worry too much about crushing them, but now you can see the bees are just going to hang out in there. I'll put this second deep box over them to help cover it up. And then I just need to put on the top cover and the inner cover. And once the inner cover and the top cover are on, I am good to walk away from this hive for a few hours while I wait to see if the bees will migrate out. And they did actually end up migrating out. Like I said, we came back later to check on them about 3 hours later, and most of the bees were out. Another good part about this method is there didn't end up being very many dead bees that got shook into the hive. So now I'm putting the Boardman feeder on the outside. The reason I'm doing this instead of using a larger feeder is because the larger feeders I have are buckets, but I need to put them in that second brood box, and with this installation method, there's packages in there, so I'm just giving them some sugar water to suck down until I can come back later and give them a full 2-gallon bucket of sugar water. And so now I guess we will just put this feeder on, and now I'll go ahead and show you how I installed the second package. So we're going to go ahead and skip over the stuff that we just saw before, the shaking bees off the sugar can, spraying them with sugar. I've already done all that here. So what I want to show you guys here, though, is what the queen actually looks like up close. Now, her backside is much longer compared to a regular bee. That's because she's got to actually dip it down into the drawn-out comb and drop the eggs down in there. So that's why she's a bit longer compared to the others, but I just wanted to get you all an up-close view. I think the camera should zoom in here in a second. And you can see the attendants that are going around. They're trying to help feed her through the mesh that's right there, help get her nectar and food just while she's in there. But you can see right there she's got that longer butt bit. So now I'm going to be actually shaking the bees into the new hive. I'm skipping over the things that we've seen before, as I said, but I'll still spray them with sugar water and have to shake them down here. Now you can see I've already got those frames set off to the side. That's for there to be enough room for me to actually shake the bees into this hive. Now, like I said earlier, the reason that I'm tapping them off there is because they climb all over the sugar can trying to feed, and it can make it so that when you pull it out, you crush some of the bees, and we don't want that to happen to our poor little gals. So now that I'm ready, I can finally flip it over, and this is where the fun part begins. I get to shake out all these bees into the hive. So being kind of gentle at first, I want to let the loose ones just fall out, but you got to start shaking eventually. And you can see I'm trying to shake them right on top of the queen so that they can all smell her pheromones. Tilting it left and right. Some of those bees are stubborn now. One of the disadvantages of this are any dead bees that are in that package are going to go into the hive, and so the bees will have to remove them. Now, I'm not going to get 100% of them out, of course, and the way we deal with that is we're just going to set the package right down in front of the hive and let the bees kind of crawl out on their own and go into the hive. Now, you can see there's a lot of bees flying around because I've just shaken them all violently from their home, but I'm just going to try to get them away from the edge so that I can put the inner cover on top, and then we're going to close this all up and put a 2-gallon sugar syrup feeder on it. Now, I'm feeding 1-to-1 sugar syrup because That's what's recommended for hive building. You can see all of the bees there are kind of fanning their wings. The reason for that is to help propagate the pheromones, at least that's my understanding of it. And that will help let the bees know, hey, this is where the queen is. Come here to her, because, the queen's sort of the nexus of the colony. She's got to lay the brood, otherwise there's no more bees, and no more bees means the colony eventually dies out, since bees have actually a relatively short life cycle. Now, I did want you all to be able to get an idea of what it sounds like out here, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave you all to enjoy me putting on the sugar water. Hear the bees for a bit.